Hey, cutie pies, it's Lanikia, and I'm coming to you with another episode of the Endgame. This is season one, episode six, Judge, Jury, Executioner. Um, if you want to work from home, don't forget to check out my work from home videos on the page as well, on the channel as well. So see Val starts off where they picked up last week. She's talking to Elena, and she's just like, I could really put my hands around your neck, and just wring your neck, like kill you, and see how long it would take. And Elena is like, listen, I didn't do this. Like, I'm just giving you the information so you can have closure. And Elena is just, and Val is just like, Big B is dead. And Elena tells her, no, that's just a box of bricks. That man is not dead. This is the address for where he is. So Val is just like, I'm not playing this with you. I don't care. I'm not opening up this box of Pandora's box with you. And Elena is just like, how do you sleep at night? And Val says, I sleep just fine. Well, we find out that's not the truth because when Val goes home, she sees a picture of her and her mom, just sharing a moment and everything, and she's just reminiscing about, her mom and how what a great woman she was. So then she's we see her sit on the edge of the bed, and all of a sudden bullets start flying in. And she dives to the floor, and we see this woman is bleeding because she's died because she's been shot up. And then Val wakes up out of the chair that I guess she moved to, and we see that Val was just having a nightmare about how her mom was killed by Bigby. So Val ends up going to the address, and Anthony calls her and he tells her that's not him, Val. This is the name. And she said that's an alias. It could be an alias name. And he says, Val, please don't do anything crazy. So he ends up showing up and he tells her, you need to drive away. Like, we can't do anything crazy, because she could see Bigby through the window, but she can't prove it's him. Even though she probably knows Elena would not give her this information if it was not true. But she can't prove it. So she's just like, okay. I'm gonna drive. Anthony, I'm not gonna do anything crazy. I'm gonna drive away. And so then we go to the director. Now he's at Caroline. Caroline, she's a judge, and she is his a special friend that he has, and he used to date her back in college. You can kind of get the vibe that they really had a more than just a friendship at one time. And he's just telling her, hey, they're going after everyone who's in this picture. And she said, I had nothing to do with that. I just thought it was a drone attack, like military attack. I had nothing to do with this or whatever. So while she's talking to the director, we see at another prison facility, this inmate is actually escaping. And you could tell he's been practicing this, and he's got the info to do it because he was able to get all the way through and escape. And so they show him going out and being free. And so then we see they go back to the director and the judge. And we see that he tries to tell the judge to be careful, go away, go get to safety. But she says, no, I'm cool. I'm cool. And ain't nobody. I've been having threats before and everything. There's nothing gonna happen to me. I'm not in Elena's world. I don't know anything about this. And he tries to tell her, like, Elena's been really coming after these people. So usually, like, it's something. But she's like, no, no, I'm good, I'm good. So then he leaves, but he tells her, I'm gonna put detail on you, right? Just to watch her. She said, okay, okay. So he leaves and everything, and he tells the men that are supposed to watch her home, just stay, and he'll and everything. He tells them good night. And so they're like, okay, they're gonna watch. And then this woman comes up and she's like, have you seen my dog, Glenn? And they were like, Glenn, you know your dog Glenn? But we find out she was just a distraction because, sorry, I'm reading my notes on my phone. We find out she was just a distraction because Snow White's men come up and they put darts in the two detectives or FBI agents, whatever they are. They put darts in them to knock them out and everything. And the men go in and they get to judge, and the man who gets the judge is actually Alfonso Jamie. I believe his name is Alfonso Jamie or Jamie Alfonso, but I'm gonna call him Alfonso because that's what they called him throughout the show. But his name is Alfonso, and he goes in and he says, "You remember me?" He was like, you put me away for a life sentence. So they kidnapped the judge and she gone. And so then we see that they leave a note, like he leaves a note for Agent Turner on the camera so she could see it. And so they said, so then on another case they see Doke is like, we see they're trying to unfreeze Elena's account or whatever. They're trying to unfreeze it. And so the director and Val so the director and Val talk, and he asks her, like, Doke is telling the director that, and he was like, just give me, keep him updated on it. Um, excuse me, no, that's not right. The Dope, a woman is looking at that, and she tells Dope that they're trying to do that, and then they go to the director and Val, and he says the note, and Val lets him know the note that they have the note, and he's like, let me read it. And in the note says, how many people can fit into a 300 square foot store? And so they figure out that Caroline put Alfonso away in 2010, and when she put him away, um he had no priors. He was like, he had a few things, but it wasn't like anything major like that. And he took his chance on getting, just going through the judge because he thought he was going to win the case, and he actually ended up losing and going away for life, because they said he shot some man point blank range, and there was a witness that saw it and everything. So then the director, Doke talks to the director, and because they're at Caroline's, the judge's house right now, and the director is just like, Val, find her, because it's a mess. And then Doke calls the director, and he tells him that they think that they're trying to make an escape because they're getting into Elena's account. So they think they're trying to make an escape and go somewhere. And he says, I'm asking for your permission. And the director is like, what permission do you need? He was like, I want to be able to use snipers and, use snipers on the girl with the braids. And the director is like, she's beaten you four times, and Doug was like, it's just three. But then they go to the girl with the braids or whatever, and the man that's running the computer, because what they're doing is transferring money. They're trying to unfreeze Elena's account, and the man says, oh yep, they're watching us, because I guess he could see it some kind of way technically on the computer. He's like, they're watching us, and she says, good, we're watching them too. So then they go and they find the van that they because when they kidnap the judge, they use the van, right? So they find the van that they used to kidnap the judge. So when they go and find the van, there's this man. Val said this man is like sweeping the same spot over and over, and this isn't really about the van. Look at this spot. This is the spot. This isn't about the van, because if you look at this spot, it's directing you to where Alfonso used to live. And so they go up to the man that's been sleeping the same spot over and over, and they're like, sir, do you know anything? Have you heard anything? And he was really nervous, and he said, I didn't have anything to do with this. And they were like, do with what? Because it's Jamie and Val talking to him. He said it's excuse me, Anthony and Val talking to him. He said it was all Jamie. He said Jamie used to live here, his grandmother died, they took away the kids. Like, the family left after they did that to Jamie. And he said, I'm supposed and Val says, I'm Agent Turner. He was like, what's your name? And she says, Val Turner. He says, I'm supposed to give this note to only Val Turner. So he gives her a note, and it says, follow the corruption. And so that's when Val is like, okay, so this is, it's spreading bigger out, so that we got to figure out the bigger picture. And they said, if this is the place where Jamie went, then the next place he'll probably go is to the witness. So then Elena speaks to the director, and Elena tells him, just because he, she sees he's worried. Of course, she knows what's going on, and she's like, just because she's was your girlfriend back in the day doesn't mean that she's innocent, that she isn't corrupt now. and he says, she's a good person. She's not involved in all this. They're speaking about the judge, and he tells her that Doak is wanting to use snipers and everything, and she says, so you're going to unleash Doak, and you're covering up for the judge. She said that these are the beginning stages of corruption. You're like, that's how it starts. It's just a will. It's just a whim on something, and then you're fully into corruption. And she said, and plus, I don't think the judge would like to know that you're like downplaying your relationship. It's like, woman, don't push me. So then Doak tells her, we're going to, so then, so then we go back to Doak, and he is talking on the phone he calls the girl with the braids, and he tells her, we have your boyfriend, and if you don't, give up the hostages, then we're going to, send him to a far off prison, and you'll never see him again and all that. So Doc should have known. The girl just gave in. He was like, "You have 1 minute to make the deal." So she hangs up the phone with him, and then the man says, "We're in the account," and she said, "Transfer 10 million to this crypto place." So they transfer the 10 million and everything, and then she calls back Dulk, and she says, "Okay, we'll make the deal." And so for the hostage, she releases all the hostages, and then she will get the boyfriend. Now remember, the boyfriend is the one who was on the pier that had the bomb that they captured. And but I'm like, dog, I don't know, but this girl with the braids doesn't seem worried at all about you capturing her. So you should have known right there something was up. And then we go to, okay, so then they go to commercial, and they come back on, and it's 1990, and Val and her mom are walking and talking, and she remembers her mom asking her, about corruption. Does she know what the word corruption means? And then they go back to Alfonso's case, and they talk about how, then we going back to coming back into the present. They talk about in Alfonso's case how he's lost his family, his kids, he lost everything, and they said, we need to re-examine the case. And Val and this is Val talking to the director. She's like, we need to re-examine this case to find out what was going on. And he said, Val, I need you to presume that the judge is innocent. And she says, I am, sir, but we got to look into what Elena is trying to show us. So Val and Anthony are going to find the witness, because they found, they have an address for him, the witness that was in Jamie's case that said he saw Jamie kill the man. Um, so the director is talking to Elena, and she says, she's not, the judge is not who you think she is. And he's like, oh, just be quiet. And she says, go ahead and answer your email, because he gets a ding on his phone. She says, go ahead and answer your email. And it's the judge being tied up and, screaming with her mouth tied up and everything. And she's like, was she this feisty when you knew her? Or whatever. So then, as she's talking to him, Dope calls, and he tells the director everything is going as planned. And the director said, I want you to make it hurt. And so then they go to Val and Anthony, and we see the building and the eyewitness. The eyewitness doesn't even work there. It's supposed to be a work address. And they were like, this building is clearly not working there. And then they realized that 25 other people have the exact same work address, but it can't be real, because the building is, you can't work there. Like, it's all boarded up and everything. So that was like, this is a fake building, but they're getting real money. You know, they got real money, and they say they're working here. So then they're like, okay, we got to look into the judge more and everything. And of course, the director is still refusing to believe that the judge had anything to do with it. So then we see Val. So then we see, okay, so in prison, Sergey and Owen are there, right? And they're talking about their plan, and they're like, we only got 4 more days left when we get out. But then the ferret comes through. Remember they poisoned him, and he was supposed to be in the infirmary for like a week, so that would have gave them enough time to get out. Well, he's out already, and Sergey is telling Owen, he was like, now see, if you let me kill this man like I wanted to, he would be still in the infirmary, and we would be scot free. Like we wouldn't have any kind of complications. But now this is a complication, and he needs to die because he's gonna talk or whatever. Um, So then we see that Dope brings the prisoner. So going back to Dope, we see he brings the prisoner in. Remember the guy with the bomb? He brings him in and he tells him, "You're going to be the trade off, and if anything goes wrong, you know, I'm gonna because he had his engagement ring that he meant to get to the girl. He's like, I'm gonna flush the ring down the toilet and everything." And the man is like, "Okay, everything, it'll be fine." So then we see that so they go and they start trading the men, right? They start trading the people. So Dope goes out and he tells the girl, "Okay, we're ready for the trade." And so they open the door, but it's not the girl, it's the guy who was helping her. And they say, "Okay, for every prisoner they release, you could take one step." They tell the other prisoner that had the bump. And so he takes one, they release one hostage, not prisoner, hostage. They release one hostage, he takes one step. And they keep releasing and they take one step. Well, then the girl comes out to the window, and that's when they had the snipers ready. And they said, um, shoot at the girl, like aim to kill her or whatever. I don't even know why Dope wanted to like kill her. But she's getting the best of him, but like why aim to kill? Like why shoot at her head? Why not shoot at like her arm? You know? But so they take the shot and they miss, and so then the guy runs in, the prisoner that Dog had with the bomb, he runs in, so he's reunited with his fiance and everything. And he's reunited with his fiance and everything. So that allows for um, the hostages to be set free, and then they get to escape. But when they go in, they see Dope goes in because they're trying to follow them. They see that there's been a tunnel and they have escaped through the tunnel. And Dope is like, "Oh, he took the ring or whatever." And because he had told the man, if everything goes well, you can have this engagement ring that you had got for the girl with the braids and give it to her, but if not, I'm going to flush it down the toilet in front of you. So the guy actually ended up snatching the ring, and he took it from them. um so then Val says, "Anthony, I'm starting to have a bad feeling about this judge." And so they go to the place where they're supposed to find the where the actual event happened, where Alfonso, it was accused of, "Oh, I was a witness and I saw it happen here." So they go to that building where the witness says they saw it happen, and they hear like a woman struggling, and they go in, and it's the judge and Alfonso. He's holding her hostage, and Val is like, "Alfonso, you don't want to do this. Whatever it is, we can work it out. You don't want to do this." But he's just like, "Mm-mm. No, I need her to look out the window, Val, and tell me, um, do you see the edge or something?" And she said, "It's impossible to see the edge." And he was like, "Exactly. So how did the witness see me shooting someone?" And she was like, "Okay, Alfonso, if you're trying to prove your innocence, this is not the way to do it. Let the judge go and we'll prove it." And he says, "No, she's been doing this because remember, there were 25 people, different witnesses on her bench cases, and all these, but there were 25 people that were supposed to be working at that storefront, and they were all from her bench cases." So he says, "No, I need the judge to admit what she's done." And so he says, "If she doesn't admit it, we're both going out this window." And so Val and Anthony are like, "Okay, okay." And the judge, realizing that he's real serious, she tells him, "I knew you were innocent, and I sent you away anyways." And she was telling the truth. Um, and so he was like, "Finally, you admit what you did wrong." And then he jumps out of the window. So Val and Anthony run to check on him. And when they do, they see that it was a board placed there, and the judge is actually landed on the board. And she says, "Alfonso ran through the window." So Val says, "Anthony, go find him." So they try to Anthony tries to find Alfonso, and then we see the director has showed up, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, like what's happened?" So Val went to explaining to him that the 25 bench cases she was covering up for the Bellocks, and she's knee deep in this. And even the building where, remember, they found that missing body of the reporter, that building is the same, has the same name as where the witnesses were working. So it's all tied together, and it's all like paid for through that money, the Bellocks money. And so she sold out. Like, she got involved in taking bribes and crime, and paying off witnesses who needed the money, and and people like Alfonso couldn't fight it. They didn't have any money to fight it. So they would just pay off witnesses to say, yeah, they did it, even though they didn't do it. It was someone, like, probably in the Bellocks clan or someone else that did it. And so she tells him, "Oh, I'm innocent. I was just saying." The judge tells the director, "I'm innocent. I was just saying that to because he was gonna kill me or whatever." And he was like, "No, you did this." And he was like, "What happened to you? Like, what? You just took one bribe and it became easier to take another one and another one." And she was like, "I'm gonna have your job for this and everything." And so the director walks away from her, and he tells Val, "Don't look for Alfonso too hard. Like, don't look for that the fugitive. Don't look for him too hard." And then he said, "Lock her up." So they take the judge in. Um, so then we see the girl with the braids, and the guy, the bomber guy, on the pier. They're actually on a bus, and I'm like, okay, okay, we're going. So they're on a bus, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna just spend the forever or whatever." And then Doc is actually behind them on the bus, and he pulls out his gun, and he's like, "Thought you were gonna get away with it." And they were like, "Oh, you put a tracker in the ring, in her engagement ring that he gave." And I'm like, this seemed too convenient. This seemed too convenient. So he says, "You're gonna go away for a long time, but right now they're gonna go into the building that Elena is in." And then he says, "And then we're gonna take you to a different building or whatever, to a different place. So enjoy your one night together." So then the man, so they come on, and they grab the girl with the braids and the bomber off the bus or whatever. But she leaves like a piece of paper, an envelope or something in there, on the bus, in the back of the bus seat. And so then we see Alfonso comes on the bus. Like, when they go off, Alfonso comes on the bus and sits down where she was sitting down. And on the bus seat, it's a trip to get out of the country, and it's the $10 million, and it says, "You deserve it. Good luck," and whatever. And I'm like, see, dog walked out that bus. He was happy with himself. I said, I knew it was too good to be true, because you can't ever get a win. The same way you got that gold up, gold in the Federal Reserve, melted up, and you thought that was a win, and took all of the credit last week. Is the same way you think you have got to pull one over on them, and you have not. Because, dog, I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that these people mastermind all this and didn't know you were sitting behind them. Really, sir? Stop it. So then we go back to Owen and Sergey, and the ferret tells Owen, "Oh, we still on plan or whatever." And Owen's like, "Yeah, man, we still on plan. In 2 weeks everything happened," which we all know is 4 days. So then Sergey sees the ferret go and talk to Muscle, and Owen goes and spots, excuse me, Sergey goes and spots Owen because he's lifting weights, and he says, "See, this is not good." And Owen said, "Yeah, he's talking," because Sergey said he's talking to Muscle, and Owen said, "Yeah, I don't think this is good." And Sergey's just like, "So let me kill him." Now they gotta worry about this, because the men are okay. Sergey, Owen, all right, but y'all not Elena, because Elena taking care of stuff on the outside. Y'all not really taking care of it on the inside like that or whatever. So then, and it was the $10 million. Remember the crypto money? They gave Alfonso the $10 million. So that's why they sent it over. That's why I'm like, "Nope, you did not win that." I'm like, "But go ahead and feel good about yourself." Okay, so then we see that Anthony calls Val, and he tells Val that Big B was on the list of witness protections, and so he was paid off, and they knew he was that he had killed her mom and everything, but they had been paying him off. So yeah, that was Bigby at that house. And she says, Anthony says, Val, I'm coming over or whatever. She's like, no, I'm not gonna do anything crazy because my mom wouldn't want me to. So he says, okay, cool, I'm glad. So then she when he gets off the phone with her, she goes to bed. She really wasn't going over there because she's like, I'm not gonna do anything crazy and jeopardize my freedom. But then she she decides to go over there because she remembers what Elena said about she remembers what Elena said about what would you do if you had the chance to, you know, be confront the man who killed your mother. You know, how would this story end? Would she kill him? What would she do? And so she decides to go over there, and so she knocks on the door. She shows him her badge, and she tells him everything, you know, about her mom and just how she at first she tells him you're Bigsby or whatever, and he's like, no, you knew realized that he knew, you know, because he paused, and then but then he was like, no, I'm not him. And she was like, yes you are. Like, yes you are, I know you're him or whatever. And so he finally he never admitted it, but she just was talking to him about how what a wonderful woman her mother was. And it flashes back to her mother being like, write me a 2-page letter on corruption and all that. And she was like, what a wonderful woman her mother was, and how all the girls were jealous because the way her mother braided her hair. Her mother was just a good person, and you killed her. And he won't even admit to that. He won't say anything, because he thought she was like the guy who he sends to get his, like, I guess snacks at night, like cigarettes and all and sandwich and all that. But he said he was late. So as Val is talking to him, the guy comes up and he's like, "You're late." Like, he completely ignores Val and he's just like, well, "You're late," or whatever. And so I have to deal with talking to her because you came late. And Val is just like, oh my gosh, you're trash. Like, it's pathetic or whatever. And she starts walking away and he lights up a cigarette, right? But turns out, but then he starts coughing or whatever and he hits the floor, and Val turns around and she runs back up and she calls the 911 and says it's a heroin overdose. So then she goes to Elena and she said, "Girl, like, it's nighttime," because Elena is in her PJs, and she says, "Girl, you killed that man in front of me. Why? Like, you purposely timed that so that I would see him draw his last breath." And Elena was like, "I did it for I gave it to you for closure or whatever." But that was she was like, what kind of clothes like that? Like, I didn't want that or whatever. But Elena's like, we're more alike than you think, or whatever. And watch, you're gonna sleep good now, knowing, hey, after you've seen that and know he's dead. And then the lights go out, and Elena said, "It looks like we're both in the dark." Because Elena's like, "I have nothing to do with this," and unfortunately, this show won't be back on for 2 weeks, so we gotta wait 2 weeks to see what happens next. But that was the end game, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.